So if you haven't heard of the Galaxy S4 by now, you've probably been living under a rock for the past month. It's setting crazy records, selling almost 10 million units, and it's not even past the month mark yet. So what's it like when the Galaxy S4 hits Verizon, the fastest and largest 4G LTE network in America? Well, the experience is largely the same, except it's really fast and everywhere. Now, Verizon's continuously rolling out their 4G coverage everywhere, and just in my small town we finally got it this week. And having it really does make a world of a difference. So let's take a look and see how great this new phone is on Verizon's network. So what's it like having the Galaxy S4 on Verizon's network? Well, almost the exact same as every other network. Inside the Galaxy S4 on Verizon, you're going to find almost all of the same specifications minus a few antenna differences. Because obviously, Verizon is touting its large and vastly expanding 4G LTE network, and to give them some credit where it's due, they really have been expanding it. In my small town, we finally got 4G this week, and it's awesome. And it completely changes the way you use your smartphone, and take my word, you want this stuff. It's good. You still have the same 5-inch 1080p resolution screen, and it is gorgeous. I use the Note 2 as my daily driver, and the screen on the Galaxy S4 blows me away. You really don't realize what you're missing out on until you have it in your hands and you use it. It's something else. Now, the Note 2 is not a bad screen by any stretch of the imagination, but when you experience a screen with a pixel density of 441 pixels per inch, or say 460 plus like on the HTC One, you really do get a feel for how crisp everything can and should look now. And it's only a matter of time before we start seeing 4K resolutions on smartphones, I imagine, but we still have a couple years left of that not being on phones. You still have the same frustrating 13 megapixel camera, and I say frustrating because, well, technically it is a 13 megapixel camera. The 13 megapixel aspect ratio is 4:3. So what does that mean? Well, your typical picture is in a 16:9 aspect ratio. So do the math. 16 divided by 8 is 2. You're left with a remainder of 1 with 16:9. 4:3, well, it's just a whole different aspect ratio. 4 divided by 3 still gets you a remainder of 1, but it's 1 remainder 1 versus 2 with a remainder of 1. So you're missing out on a good chunk of the picture. Now, does that mean that those 13 megapixel pictures are bad? No, they're beautiful. They are noticeably better than the 9.6 megapixel pictures. Don't quote me if I'm wrong on that. 9.6, don't hate me. But nonetheless, they really should not tout it as a 13 megapixel camera if the majority of people aren't going to want it in that aspect ratio, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. The fact is, it is beautiful, and it takes wonderful pictures. And I'm sure somewhere out there you could find the proper software that would make it a 16:9 and probably reduce the quality a little. You still have the same Snapdragon 600 processor. It's a quad-core running at 1.9 gigahertz. In my experience with it, I did not find any lag. I guess I didn't have too much time yet with it, but I really don't mind the new TouchWiz overlay. Sure, some of the menus are a little confusing and probably should have been kept the way they were, but it's really not that bad. Some of the new features are very light and bubbly and very welcome, I think. So what about some of these great features like Smart Scroll and Air View? How do they work? Well, some of them work very well. Others, not so much. Things like Air View worked very well in my experience. I mean, it was a pleasure to use. It was kind of neat to use. Would I use it on a daily basis? Well, it's hard to say. Then you have features like Smart Scroll, which, according to every reviewer, myself included, is not very functional. It's really cool and honestly kind of freaky when you first use it, because you're looking at your screen and you look at the bottom. And you expect to have to flick your thumb in order to get to the next part of the screen. And then it just starts moving. It's spooky. Had it been executed properly and worked right? This would have been a killer feature. But unfortunately, it feels kind of half-baked, and I really wish they would have spent the time, to perfect it. There's, S this, S that, S this on the phone. You have S Note, S Translate, S Health. Half of them are S unnecessary, I think. The biggest, absolute, most frustrating complaint that I have heard regarding the Galaxy S4's build quality. The build quality on the Galaxy S4 sucks. Stop, right there, stop. Just stop it. The build quality on the Galaxy S4 is great. I'm probably the first reviewer to say this, but comparatively speaking, yes, things like the iPhone, yes, things like the HTC One, yes, things like the DNA, they do have a better build quality, but the Galaxy S4 is not that bad. Is it plastic? Yeah, it's plastic. Does it attract fingerprints? Yeah, it does. Are you going to put a case on it more than likely? Yeah, probably. But in all honesty, when I felt the Galaxy S4, I was actually impressed. It still keeps the same plasticky feel. It still keeps the same crunchy sounding material. But it's not that bad. There's a polycarbonate kind of metal, faux metal ring around the side of it that I actually very much enjoy. It's close enough to metal to kind of fool you, but it's not, and it saves Samsung money. Would I have loved to see a metal Galaxy phone? Absolutely, that's what I want more than anything. In fact, I'm kind of holding out for the HTC One on Verizon, which wasn't announced at CTIA today. But the Galaxy S4 really isn't that bad. People have slammed it up and down saying it needs to be better, it needs to be better. Yeah, it can improve. All the phones can improve. There is no perfect phone. I really don't think the Galaxy S4 is that bad. When you compare it to my Note 2, my Note 2 feels cheap. And that's weird. I really am surprised, shocked, pleased, insert verb here or adjective here, in the build quality of the Galaxy S4. It's very light, but it feels very substantial in your hand, which is a weird sensation. Well, there you have it, guys. There's a look at the Galaxy S4 on Verizon. A day early, actually. Technically, it's the 22nd today. I apologize for the quality not being up to par with my other videos. Unfortunately, the source that allowed me to use these phones, it was a really last-minute thing. I didn't have time to bring the proper recording equipment. And I don't know if you noticed in the reflections, but I was actually all recorded off of my Galaxy Note 2. So it's not too bad, but it's really not my best, and I'm not very proud of it. So bear with that. It was a preview because the phone's not out yet. So I hope that you got something out of it, and I know that some of the videos were out of sequence with the audio, but it was kind of a rushed video because I just had to take something because I didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. So I really do apologize for that, and I hope you can look past it. And if you've got questions, I've got that phone memorized up and down. Feel free to shoot me a question. Anyway, that's a look at it. I hope you enjoyed it. I was sort of impressed with the quality of the Note 2's camera. I guess on a weird parallel, did a decent job. Not as good as what I'm recording on right now, obviously. But is the Galaxy S4 on Verizon right for you? At this moment, May 22nd, yes. Right now, it is the premium phone to have on Verizon. With the exception of the DNA, if the DNA had either 32 gigs of memory or an expandable memory slot, I would have that phone. I think it's a beautiful phone. I love HTC. It kills me to see them doing so badly. So, Verizon, I'm holding out for that HTC One. Get it. That's really all I've got. I would appreciate any sort of feedback if you guys could give me some sort of shout out. Again, look forward for better quality videos than this because this is not my best work. I know it, but unfortunately it's the best I'm able to give you due to the time and the fact that the phone's not out yet on Verizon, and I'm still bringing it to you anyway. You're welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.